Okay, um, as you can see on the screen, there was a reply to the video I put up for Last Minute Lacey. And there was a gentleman or somebody named at Mr. Hanky 5851. He said, "Would you be interested to listen? I would be interested to listen to some content on your healing process from your mom's stuff," talking about when I referenced my mother and her personality and all that. I think a lot of guys have suffered from this dynamic, but it's taboo to even bring it up. Probably one of the most underrated subjects. So, how do you heal from Mommie Dearest? you know, how do you heal from Mommie Dearest? Let's think about that. Let's go here. It's an old movie, and I think they remade it. It says 1981. I actually don't remember it too much. The actress in there was very popular, and her name was Faye Dunaway. Yeah, and I don't want to show it. I don't want any copyright, but it's called Mommie Dearest. Now, you have to understand, number one, just like I put in comments, I'm not a trained psychologist. I'm not an official minister. I do this for entertainment purposes. So prepare to be entertained. Mom, when she was really young and I was just a kid, wasn't so bad. But she always had a crappy personality. She was very cold. And I could go to the beginning, like when I was a real small boy, I was her focal point and I got all the attention. Then years later, my sister came along and she got all the attention, and my mother just rejected me for the most part. The answer to almost everything was no. It came to the point where I was afraid to ask or interact with her. She would be on one side of the trailer and I'd be on the other side of the trailer, and I was thanking God for that because, I was just thankful for the situation because at that time I was an atheist when I was that young. I was atheistic, and she didn't like that, I don't think, but it's emotional distancing, not just physical distancing. Once you get enough distance in there, you can think for yourself a little bit more and you can question. Once I moved out of the house years later, when I was in my I think it was 18 to, I think it was 20. I might have been 20, 21 by the time I moved out and had my own place. I had a taste of independence. And when you get that independence, then you start to reflect back on the life you had. And you start to remember things. And you don't heal from scars. You heal the wound, but you don't heal the scars. Like I had an old fishing accident and I got hit right here in my hand, those fences that had that thing that had that wire like this on the fence, like this. It went right in there. and it twisted a little bit, and it came out, and it got me real good. They didn't take me to the hospital. They didn't care. So all I could do was cover it up, and I used a handkerchief on here to use as a Band-Aid. I cleaned the handkerchief, and eventually it did heal. It did heal naturally, even though it had a little pus and things like that on there. It smelled kind of funky. But I have a little scar here, and that scar is never going to go away. It's part of who I am now. That's the way it is with these personalities. Any personality that's brutal and all that, if you distance yourself and take a look back, try to bring yourself out of the emotional traumatic state, which is usually perpetual with these people. They keep you in that trauma as much as they can. You become their favorite pick. My friend Tomas, who's no longer with us, he died a long time ago. He said that based on my description, that she treated me like a whipping boy, and every time she wanted to feel better, she'd whip me. But it wasn't a physical whip. It was never that. It was, well, one time she did grab me by my hair and drag me across the room on the floor by herself for whatever we were arguing about. I honestly don't remember. It's too long ago. But that's the only physical thing she really did, besides, of course, shoot at me and aim high. But the thing is, that trauma, I mean, it's like they have to have, hey baby, it's okay. They have to have a meal or something. They have to have a little snippet, a little snack, because you become something that feeds them. It feeds their ego. It feeds their pride. It feeds, everything they see themselves as, and they honestly just live to fill their appetite, and they get off on hurting you at an emotional level. They don't really hate you. They say they do, and they yell and scream at you, and they blame you for everything that goes wrong, even though you're a kid. But the truth is that they hate themselves, and they hate their circumstances. And it's easier to pick on you, the kid, that can't defend themselves, that have nowhere else to go, that have no choices. It's easier to hurt you and blame you for everything than to go out there and find it in themselves to solve problems and be thankful, and they just get off on it. Now, these people, like my mom, my sister's in the medical industry, and she called Mom a toxic personality, and Mom would cater to my sister all the time, and it was just sad that way. But there is the picture of the woman. The hospital didn't like it that I took a picture of her dying, but I took a picture because I didn't really have one of her. I didn't have a picture of my mother. She never really posed for them. She didn't like them. So I snagged this, and that's what you're looking at there. That's the picture of my mom. She got the COVID. One of her lungs was gone. It was full of pus. It solidified, and she couldn't breathe through it anymore. She was unconscious. She was at the VA, as you can see looking at the pillow. She was a veteran, Department of Veteran Affairs. And she was a fucking Marine, God damn it. She was a fucking Marine. She was proud of it. But she didn't want me to become a Marine. She wanted me to join the Army so that they could pay for the education and everything, which may have been a good thing. I'm not even sure anymore. I'm glad I didn't have to find out, because I wanted to just go to college, which I did, and I graduated, but it didn't mean anything. My degree didn't mean anything to anybody. And nowadays, people are they're getting in the job market, they're getting what I got when I started out, but more, because there's less jobs. When there's less jobs, a degree doesn't mean anything. It's like a diploma now. So, but that's different. Back to her. I do miss my mother, because when she got older, after I moved out, years later, eventually they found out she was diabetic. They got her on medication. And once she started taking her medication religiously and started normalizing, she wouldn't be so upset. And I would go out on the weekends with my mom. Just for the fun of it, we go have taquitos. We have some tacos over there, different places. We try out different places and just decide how we're going to do it and who's going to pay. We would, take turns paying. And she was a bit more realistic then. She was on her meds. She was older. She was more mellow. And we didn't believe that the COVID was real. We thought it was bullshit. And then she dies. I wind up, at some point in my life, like 4 years ago, I think, in trouble with the law here in San Antonio. And it took a day and a half, about a day and a half, for her to decide to bail me out. She had so many debts. I mean, I literally could not go through them all. It was just so painful. This woman kept secrets. And she was in debt up to her eyeballs. And I always wondered where she got the money to do things, because I know she didn't work, and I know the VA probably didn't give her very much. And I found out she was writing. She did what I did to graduate from college. I had like 3 major credit cards, and I used them to pay for food and gas and critical things that I didn't have money for. And I would pay the minimum on the card. That's how I graduated college. And I had to default on those cards because I couldn't even make the minimum payment on them anymore. I had to say fuck it and just give up on that. And I miss my mom. She was crazy. She was off. She was narcissistic. She was basically like an energy vampire, but she didn't need to be. She just did it because, and I saw her reactions, and like she would hurt me and then walk around the corner, and I'd see her kind of laughing a bit. She was just a brute, and she got off on hurting me. And my sister wasn't stopping her. My sister was laughing while she was doing that. She thought it was funny. And my sister, now that we're older, she doesn't remember that. But my mom would chew me out and all this, and I'd sit there and take it. And my sister would be there with a big smile on her face, laughing, thinking it's funny. I had no backup in this life. My stepdad, my father left me when I was 2. And she hated that guy. But she never pursued him giving child support. She said she always justified, oh, that guy wouldn't even take care of himself. He's not going to have anything to give you. Which could have been true based on her description. He was a lazy bum. He didn't want to do shit. Didn't want to work or nothing. He was, what was it? Dishonorable. He had a dishonorable discharge from the Navy, which most people would think is fucking impossible. To get a dishonorable discharge from the fucking Navy of all arms. How the fuck do you do that? I mean, really? But whatever. I don't know. I've never been in the military. It just sounds kind of fucked up. But anyway, the point is that She was sick. She was sick. She had to pick on me to feel better about herself. People will put you down so that they can feel good about themselves. That's the way it is. You can read that in any basic book, and it's just how they feed themselves emotionally, because they don't have a lot of emotional foundation or stability. And on top of that, she got off on it. She thought it was funny that I would suffer. She enjoyed it. And she was that way my whole life. That's why when I started getting older and I was able to get on a bicycle and leave the house and go walking, I'd go walking to used to walk all the time, everywhere. And then I got the bicycle and I started going out. And then when I got older, I got a motorcycle. I started going to, it doesn't exist anymore. It's an old store. It's like a book and game store out of Laredo, Texas, called Yo Books and Games, YO Books and Games. My friend Dave used to own it, and we used to hang around there. And I would always go there and play games and hang around and just get cheap sodas and stuff, just cheap stuff. And it's just sad that everybody tried so hard. They tried so hard to do stuff. But the thing is, they can't conceptualize this kind of abuse. And then as I grew older, of course, I found other people who were abusive out there. They were cold, sly, deceptive. They'd look you right in the eye and stare you down. And I was always weak inside because of what she did. She made me weaker. I was weak when I was a kid, and she kept getting on me so much that I just got weaker as a person. And I was always at the mercy of other people around me. I was always at the mercy of everybody. I never progressed professionally because I don't lie. She would get on my ass and force me to tell the truth. Excuse me. So she would force me to tell the truth, but she would fucking lie. It's okay, baby. It's okay. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you. She would force me to tell the truth, and then she would turn around and lie to me and trick me and manipulate me. So she was a hypocrite like that. Mommie Dearest. She did get us through. I mean, we went through a lot of bad things, and she was tough. My mom was a lot of things. She was a lot of bad things, but she was tough. She was disciplined. This woman would work herself to death. And every time I'd volunteer or say, "Can I help you with anything?" she'd just say, "No, I don't want anything to do with you. Go." You know, like that sort of thing. She would reject me. And then I'd wait for her to get tired. After she got tired cutting the grass or whatever, I'd go up and I'd ask again. And then she'd change her mind and say, "Okay, you could do that. No, do it over here. Put it over here. No." She was always, even when I tried to do something right, I was always doing it wrong. Because the truth is, she just hated men. She blamed men for everything. She had, in her family, from what I gather, she wasn't really liked that much. Nobody went to her wake, Only my sister and myself went to the wake. All her brothers and sisters didn't even bother showing up. She wasn't worth it to them. And, this lady, this Marine, she had us living in a car. My baby sister in the back seat with her at night, and my stepdad and myself sleeping on the hood of a Ford LTD. A Ford LTD is a very big car. It's pure steel. It's a big car. And, you don't know if you're going to wake up with your throat slit or what's going on. But we were there for a while, and then my Aunt Elva lent us a house, and We were there for a while, and then she sold the house. We had to leave. It was just, there was no consistent childhood in my life. And you heal when you distance yourself. First, I was in a different room. Then I got my apartment, and I was on my own. And then you can think objectively. The interference is not there anymore. The aura of Mommie Dearest is not there close by. So you get to be more objective, and you get to go over how you feel, what you really think. You have to analyze yourself. Why do I feel this way? Why is she acting that way? What's wrong with me that she hates so much? And the truth is, she was just a bitch. And, she was just a fucking bitch, and nobody liked her. But I found out that just like with my diabetes, she had diabetes, and I noticed that she would react with extreme violence when she would get angry. And she did this at a period in her life before she got the meds to help her normalize her sugar. I'm on meds now. So after I eat, I do spike a little bit, but it comes back down quicker, and I can normalize. And I drink a lot of fluids to get that extra sugar out, and that's how I regulate. She had a lot of pills that she would take to help regulate at the later stage of the game. And then she started normalizing. Then we go out and have tacos, if at the later stages of her life. But when she was younger, when we were at the trailer house, when we were still in Laredo, she'd just chew my ass out. Something goes wrong. Every time something goes wrong, that was it. One time, we moved to San Antonio from Laredo, and she had the trailer moved. You have to hire guys to move the trailer, and then they level the trailer. And I think I've told this story before. They leveled the trailer, right? And then the inspector comes and looks at the trailer, inspects it, and if he passes it, you're good. Well, you know what? We failed the inspection. I didn't know. I came home, and this is what I came home to. I said, "Ma, you there?" I had to find her. And she goes... and she goes, "We're going to lose the trailer. We're going to lose the trailer." That sort of thing. And I go, why? Because it's a paid-for trailer. She actually went out and bought a used trailer with all the money she got from the VA for the Agent Orange crap. The Agent Orange crap that happened to my stepdad, they took the money and they bought a brand new trailer, which is a throwing, she just threw the money away. But she bought the trailer, moved to San Antonio, and they leveled it, and it wasn't level. The inspector said that it wasn't level. And she panicked, didn't think to ask, how can I fix this? I made a phone call. I think it was just one phone call to the city. And I talked to somebody over there. I think she had the phone number. And I asked them very calmly, I said, well, it failed inspection. What do we do? And she just said, just tell them to go back out there and re-level the trailer. And that's all they had to do. And they did it, and they got fixed, and that was it. My mom was yelling and screaming, hyperventilating on the bed in her nightgown, pissed off, enraged. And I fixed it with one phone call. All she had to do was call those guys back out and say it has to be re-leveled. And they re-leveled it, and we were good. That was it, guys. Well, it turns out, and I've had that effect as well, when my sugar spikes, I get angry. When my sugar's too low, I get irritable. So I have emotional manipulation due to blood sugar. And I suspect that since she also had diabetes, that she was getting sugar spikes when she was younger that put her in that stage. She probably had diabetes for a while, or at least blood sugar issues, a while before she started taking her meds and going to the VA and all that. That started little by little. But I think that that had something to do with her behavior. And so you see, what I did is I took the time to analyze everything. I was trained as a systems analyst in college for computer information systems. You're trained to look at this complicated, interrelational, fucking, spaghetti problem that's just everywhere. And you're trained to break it down into the smallest component and reform it into something that is more logical, streamlined, efficient, and practical. That's what you're trained to do. It takes time to do that. The healing process is first understanding what the problem is. The healing process is understanding why you feel the way you are and all that. Well, I felt abused. I felt isolated. I ran away from home several times. She kicked me out several times and pretended she didn't care. And she did care, but she was just being annoying as fuck. And I concluded that even though I still have emotional scars, I am healed because time does heal those wounds. Having a grasp of why she thinks that way, over the years I asked her little questions. But the thing is, she was already, if somebody from the outside came in, she would be 100% corporate and completely put on a face, So that's what she would do. But if that person left and it was just me, man, my mom would, she would get pissed off at my sister over something, right? And then she turned around and vent all her frustrations on me and use me like a priest. I'm the priest and I take the confession, she vents her frustrations towards me, and I go, Mom, all you have to do is take time, just talk to Autumn and tell her how you feel about it. Just call her up and tell her. No, I can't do that. So she shielded my sister from the truth, and my sister instinctually just went with it. And later on, my sister failed at a lot of things too. She's got serious issues. And, she wants to make a video, that's her. But I'm just saying that one fucked up mother fucked up everybody else. And I'm sure that in my case, she literally thought nothing of me once my sister came into play. And Autumn got all the attention. And I got all the, But that's the way she chose to be for her own reasons. I analyzed it and I said, did I really deserve to be abused? No. Did I deserve that kind of extreme poverty, living in the park, having nothing, moving all over the place, never having any foundations or roots? No. Did I do anything wrong as a kid? Could I have done anything as a kid? The truth is, if I tried to do anything, like I wanted to open a business once and she wouldn't let me do it because I was living in her trailer. What if the VA finds out you have a business? They're going to take away my check. One excuse after another. And I said, okay, when we were living in the park, we had these plastic molds, big plastic molds of, like dog shooting pool and all that stuff. And I told, we knew how to mix the plaster, put it in a mold, and make a mono, a plaster of Paris, like miniature or mold. And my mom knew how to paint it. I knew how to make the molds because my stepdad taught me. We still had the original molds under the trailer. And I said, Mom, we still have the molds. We just have to clean them out. We can make some of these and sell them. All you got to do is get plaster of Paris, mix it, and put it in there. She knew how to spray paint them and then paint them with these oil finger paints that looked really nice. She did a good job. It's okay, baby. It's okay. I'm fine. It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, the point is that I said, we should do this. This is what we know to do. This is something what we know we can do. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No. She didn't want to start a business or nothing. In the end, when I left Laredo and I came to San Antonio for the first time and I got my apartment, I found out after a while that she was going out and she was cleaning people's toilets for cash. Because I told her, I said, we don't have to make it official. We just get cash money and that's it. Government's not going to care or know. And that way we can make it something extra. Try to do something. She wouldn't let me do it, and then she wound up cleaning toilets in the end, just to stay afloat. The good thing about my mom is she was tough. She was a hard worker. And she did find a way to raise 2 kids. She fell in debt up to her eyeballs. She bought stuff for my sister. She bought stuff for me. She did make sure I had transportation. So if I couldn't pay for a repair, if I couldn't afford to pay for it, and I'd always try to pay for my stuff, if I couldn't do it and it was really too much for me, she'd help me out. Most of the time she'd just put it on her card, and that's how we did it. We survived that way. I didn't know she was in debt that much. I thought it was just a one-time thing here and there, which it was. I wasn't asking her for money all the time. I think I did that when I was really young because I didn't have an income. I didn't have anything, so I had to ask her. But once I got older and I was working consistently, paying rent and all that, it was only like maybe $1,000 repair. I couldn't afford $1,000 repair to the car. So she helped me out. And I tell you, the adventures with my mother, I mean, I could go on and on. But you heal after you realize some people are just this way. Sometimes they're sick, they're mentally ill, their personalities suck, they're parasitic energetically, they got to feed off somebody, poke on somebody. See, if you're Christian and you're a faithful believer, for example, your power comes through Christ. It comes through the Holy Spirit, prayer, releasing your burdens to the Lord, that sort of thing. And that's how you heal and you maintain yourself. These people that live to put you down, to raise themselves up, don't do that. Someone who puts their burdens on the Lord effectively do not have to take their frustrations out on others. That's the bottom line. So, she wasn't doing that. She was a Catholic, and if she was really praying the rosary or doing something to that effect, I think she would have been a lot better. And she did do that now and again, but it doesn't last for her. It didn't last. The personality and her ways, she was set in her logic, she was set in her ways. She was not going to change her way of interacting with me. She was never going to respect me under any circumstances whatsoever. I don't give a shit what happens. She would not do it. It doesn't matter how nice I was. When I first became a one God, Jesus name Pentecostal, I tried to convert her, and it was laughable, man. Now that I look back, it was just a joke. She was never going to get it. And she agreed with me for a while, but it was just like she would treat me no different than somebody outside the family, at that point. So, the Lord wasn't going to reach her because she didn't want to be reached. As far as she's concerned, she doesn't have any problems. The bottom line with Mom also, she never would admit when she was wrong. She never did that. I do the opposite. I always admit when I'm wrong. The only exception is certain legal issues. I don't admit that, but in this case, yeah, she would never admit she was wrong. She never made a mistake in her life as far as she's concerned. And that's wrong. That's sick. That's off. You spilled the milk and you go into denial and have me clean it up. That sort of thing. Either way, I got used as a priest for confession. I got used as a whipping boy. I got abused. Everything. I asked my mom for a ride to school. I think I put it in the other video. And she goes, "Is that my problem? What do you want me to do about it?" Just like that. Is that my problem? What do you want me to do about it? Screaming at me because she just didn't want to help. And, everything was pretty much abuse and disappointment with her. And you heal when time goes by, when you get more distance, when you get to be more objective and start thinking outside your emotions. And then the shit that this person says and does doesn't get to you anymore. And you move on to other things. And you just don't give a shit anymore about what people think and all this. Because you realize that if your own mother treated you horribly like that, how much more real people in the real world going to do it? Your own mother does that. Then what restraint will any of these other people have? That's why when it comes to people and interacting with people, I'll do it over the internet like this. But in the real world, anything outside this domicile, outside my apartment, it's just a corporate act. I put on an act, I put on a show, and, I try to be nice, but I don't get too real with people. I'll expose secrets to see if, they take advantage. If I give you a secret, are you going to use it against me? Are you going to attack me? That's how I test you. I'll give you a secret. I'll give you something that is sensitive. And if you do wrong by me and you use it as leverage, then I know you're a piece of shit and I can't trust you. There's very few people I trust, and even then, the people I do trust, I know I can only trust them so far. When I became homeless due to the arrest, and they gave me the ankle bracelet, they kicked me out of the apartment, and I was homeless for about a week and a few days, I think. Almost, I think it was 9 days, something like that. I was living out of the car. My cats were loose all over the place. I'm just lucky I got them back. And I can tell you right now, it was a hell of a thing, because that's okay, baby. It's hard to live out there in the street. I don't know how people do it. I see videos about people living in a van and loving it, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You have bugs. It's always hot in the van. You don't have any real electricity unless you have shore power, which is someplace to plug it in. Even if you did get an AC, even if you had a cord running to your vehicle, if somebody allowed that, it's still going to be cramped. And, there's disadvantages to that I don't like. I did it because I had to. And I may have to do it again if these people keep fucking the economy up. But, yeah. I had to beg her for a little spot in her apartment. She finally agreed to it, and then a week later, after I got out, she passed away. She agreed with me over the phone that I can have a little corner in her apartment. And it was hard. It was a hard sell. She finally agreed to take one of my cats, and I was going to go drop off the cat, or have my sister do it. And it was Cow Cat that I was going to go ahead and let her have, because Cow Cat's a very nice cat. And it took so much convincing to get her to take one cat, and to possibly take me in so I don't have to sleep in the car. And then she dies with the fucking COVID. The way I see it, and this is spiritually behind the scenes during a spiritual war with these beings from the other side. And this is war because they just blatantly attacked me. What happened was demonic possession to me. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened to her intermittently as well. Because once you start opening certain doors, those things do tend to come in and fuck with you. What I believe happened is they tried to take me out with a demon. It failed. I became homeless. No, I became. I got put in jail. She sacrificed her credit because she had just a little bit of credit left on her credit cards. She had just paid off most of her credit cards that she had accumulated over the years, and she was very proud of it because she finally was going to start getting ahead at that age, which is fucking shitty, but real. And then this happened, so she bails me out. It was like $10,000 at least, $10,000 for the $5 for the lawyer, and I think it was $6 for the bail. And then a week after she does this, I swear she gets COVID. She was healthy, she was fine, she was running around doing shit, and all of a sudden she gets the fucking COVID and dies within a week, right after she bails me out. I see that as retaliation against me spiritually. That somebody hates my ass. Either way, it's been nothing but pain and unfairness. And when I finally get to go out with my mom and have a taco now and again, and finally get to know her without her getting pissed at me every 5 seconds, she fucking dies because she bailed me out, as far as I could tell. And when she did it, when she bailed me out, because I had no hope at that point, no hope at all. We weren't talking. They don't let you. They give you a phone call, and you try to put in the code, and if nobody, the machine will call the number you put in there. If nobody picks up, you can't leave a message. It'll just hang up, and that's it. That's your fucking call, which is bullshit. So I do miss her. She's crazy, but I miss her. I have my mom's ashes right there next to my bed. My sister wanted to throw them in the trash can. None of her relatives, her brothers and sisters, have made an effort to reach me or ask for any ashes. So I have her there. That woman you're looking at, she had a lot of problems. She was she was funny when she wanted to be funny. She was smart when she wanted to be smart. But most of the time she was miserable, depressed, angry, venting her shit on me, which is why I would avoid her most of the time. And she did successfully raise 2 kids. And she never gave up on me. My father left me when I was 2, but she didn't do what some of these crackheads do and throw their babies in the trash or give them up for adoption. She didn't give me up. That's the thing about Mom. Mom had a lot of vices, but she did have some virtue. She would make sure I had transportation. She would make sure that I graduated from college, that I anything having to do with my education, she was for. She was tough in terms of, she was almost as much of a hard worker as my grandmother on my father's side. That woman was a German, and oh my God, that woman would work 24/7. There was non-stop on her. Essentially, she was funny. She was a critical thinker. She did care, but she wouldn't express it. She would never say, I love you. She would never say, I care. She would never say, I'm sorry. Because in her mind, I guess those were forms of weakness. And she wasn't about weakness. She was about strength. So that's why they say a woman does not have the capacity to raise a man. A woman cannot raise a man. a woman has to, can nurture a man, but they can't teach them how to be a man. That's what they say. And my mom was a Marine, so I don't know. Maybe it's because she was a female Marine, thinking that she can do the substitute or the job of what requires a man. But my father's father abandoned him, and his logic was, well, my dad left me, so I'm going to leave this kid. Just leave. But mom never gave up on me. Then my sister came along, Joe, my stepdad, came along, and she never gave up on him. I mean, she took care of him at the house, wiping him and changing his diaper after because he had the Agent Orange, and he got sick, and he completely broke down, and he couldn't wipe himself. All he could say is, chinga tu madre, chinga tu madre, chinga tu madre. That's all he could say. And Jesus, I was like, I went in there and I prayed for him, and he narked on me and told my mom, and she yelled and screamed at me. And I was just praying for him. No, you're not supposed to do that. You stay out of here. Don't go to the back room. So I had a guy that and she would slap the shit out of him, and it was horrible. And I kept saying, "You want me to help you with something?" And she wouldn't listen. She got a hernia lifting him up all the time. A hernia. Okay? And I tried to help. I was young, and she called me in a couple of times to help her. But anyway, like I said, this scar that I have here from fishing, or trying to fish, this scar doesn't stop me from moving my hand. It's healed. So I'm functional, but I have a memory here. And this memory isn't going to go away. You don't really heal from it. You grow past it, and then you evolve above it by analyzing it, breaking it down, just like in systems analysis. And you just completely understand that this other person loved me in her own way, but she also blamed me for everything. I'm a man. It's all my fault. Shut up. Don't put it there. Put it over there. Do what I'm telling you. Listen to what I'm saying. I mean, she was just nag over shit that had nothing to do with me. She'd have a bad day. I had a boss. This is a separate guy. His name was Bob. He had a business, and he would lose money in his business, and he'd go in the back where the techs are, where I was trying to put together servers and shit. Over there in the back where all that sensitive equipment is, and he'd do a spot inspection on us like we were in the military. Where's that box going? Why is that there? How's that there? What is that there? What's that mess? Clean that mess. He would do that shit to us every time he lost money. And after a while you realize that's just the way he was. He was a World War II veteran, and that's his thought process. That's the way he redirects his emotions. He doesn't accept the fact that he lost money and say, okay, next time I'll do better. He goes out and he takes it on somebody else so he can feel better about himself. That's what Mom used to do. A lot of people do that. I've done it myself. And if you think about your past and how you reflect on it and everything, I'm sure you'll understand that you yourself have vented frustrations on somebody else, tortured somebody else like a whipping boy, to get off on it. We've all done it, So it's kind of hard to get out of that mentality yourself. But she was never going to do it because she was very happy and content being that way. Once she got on the meds, she mellowed out and we can have more of a relationship. But that's at the tail end of her life. She's the one that came up with it, not me. I didn't think she was going to want to do anything. I used to try to take her to a movie. We're in the movie theater and the guy in front's like leaning back, and she's like getting upset at this guy. He's putting his feet up and he's leaning back. I tell you, my mom, I had this thing. I can't take her anywhere because we're in a restaurant having tacos, And she kept eyeing other people. Sometimes she'd eye other people and start gossiping about them. And then, getting all offended over their behavior. Like, regular people don't give a shit about what you do as long as you don't do it to them. And it's just funny. You got to laugh at it. That helps you grow and heal a little bit. You have to laugh at it, because once you're emotionally detached from these people and you're no longer feeling so bad, and you realize they were just very sick. They were just very sick. And that disease did kind of spread to you a little bit. I do have diabetes, and I've had emotional anger management issues. But you go ahead and you analyze it. You stick to your conclusions, and you go ahead and you make that shit work. You go ahead and make it work, and you move forward. It takes time, some thought process on your part. Hopefully you'll see it properly instead of some weird thing. Because sometimes, people get some weird impressions, And, yeah, that is the woman who never gave up on me. She abused the fuck out of me for entertainment purposes. And she never said she loved me. But she always made sure I had food, I had clothes, I had a room, some place to sleep. When we were living in the car, she didn't have those choices. We were too poor. But as time went forward, we got on the VA. She took care of us better. But we were still poor. I barely got money for Cheetos, from school. I had to have the school lunch. If I didn't have the school lunch, I was going to get in trouble, because that was the only way I was going to get food over there. I wasn't going to be able to buy much because she didn't have money to give. But, she always made sure I had transportation, So I see her for the good she did, not just the bad things. It's another thing. There's good in people and bad in people. Not everybody's a complete piece of shit. But the thing is, some personalities you just don't want to have to fucking deal with. It's too much of a bitch to deal with that shit. That's why a lot of people would quit on Bob. They would use Bob for a while and then find something better and just leave. Because, I've seen accountants. And accountants and technical professionals are intellectuals, guys. They're up here, right? That's where they are. And even they're like, fuck that guy. They walk out. Nobody wants to put up with those kinds of personalities. When she died, nobody came to say goodbye to her. Nobody liked her. That's what I got stuck with, a mom that was not a very good feminine woman. She was not, she was more masculine, she was a tough Marine. She didn't get emotional. When she get emotional, it was always negative. I got stuck with a mom that got in my head and convinced me I was a bad person, that I'm bad. Convince me to tell the truth. No, you go out there. Like right now I'm telling you the truth, but this is for entertainment purposes. You're not going to come and sue me. You're not going to shoot me over this shit. We're just talking plain and being honest. Well, you tell truth to some people in this world and they will beat the shit out of you. They will throw it back in your face. But she forced me to be honest to the point where it's completely perfect. A perfect honest person. And out there in the real world, when you go looking for jobs and opportunity, you tell the truth to the wrong people, it'll cost you the opportunity of a lifetime. I put the truth on the resume because that's all I believed in, mostly thanks to her. And it turns out that the people that tell the truth don't get selected. It's only bullshit artists, people that'll lie on the resume, tell people what they want to hear, make them believe whatever the manipulators get the good positions. If you're not a political manipulator or a social manipulator, and you don't lie on the resume, you're not going to have a career. A professional is someone who just lies on the fucking resume and just tells them whatever bullshit they need to hear so they can charge. It's all about charging, making that money. It has nothing to do with what's right. This country hasn't run on what's right in a very long time. That's why it's in the position it's in. Right, it went out the window, and political correctness came in. Political correctness pretty much dominates the full spectrum. And we're also looking for people that fit in. Like USAA hiring a whole bunch of Indians to do technical jobs way back when I was applying, and they wouldn't even respond. I mean, I literally applied to 20 computer-based programming positions. 20 at one time. I didn't even get a phone call from USAA because they already have a political correctness agenda to hire people from these other countries. And now India has engineers, doctors. They have everything. All the infrastructure, the intellectual infrastructure we used to have here is now going over there. It's going to Mexico, pretty much everywhere else. They're hiring out. They're paying to bring those people here to work our jobs. But there's no real our jobs in America. That's unfair to say that. I should say to take a position that I would normally try to fill because I live here. They went ahead and outsourced and brought that source here. And that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with coming to America, becoming an American, paying taxes, you know, being proud of your country, you know, becoming one with the culture. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, nowadays, look what's happening. You know, they keep investing everywhere else except here. When they do invest here, they hire somebody from somewhere else. They've been doing that shit for a very long time as standard business practice to save money. And it's a fucking joke because you basically ruin your own infrastructure, you know? And of course, don't even get me started on the border shit. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digress to other subjects. The point is that, you know, when you go through this experience, you heal. Like I said, you take your time, you get some distance, objectivity, analysis, breakdown of you and this other person or whoever it is or whatever it is, and you figure out why they're doing it. I used to read like little psychology, like my sister said it was a toxic personality. I didn't even know what that was, so I Googled it. And there's a lot of things people do, like narcissism. There's videos on narcissism that heavily touch how she treated me. And essentially, that's what it is. It's like the Lord preached through a preacher one time, because I would ask questions at night and get an answer at the pulpit. And I think I've said this before. I couldn't understand why the world was the way it was. And the Lord said through the preacher, and there was a preaching, that there was a different kind of human on the planet. A human that was more like a demon than a human, than a man. So once he said that, I was like, oh shit. So that's what this is amounting to. Because technically the way she acted would be considered a form of demon possession. It would be something energetically attached to her, driving her crazy. Not necessarily just the biological diabetic issues she had. That I have too. I have to ask myself, is this me or is just my emotions after I just ate and I have a sugar spike? And if it's within half an hour when I eat, I know it's not me. I know it's the sugar driving me nuts. And the medical industry is not going to acknowledge any of that. They're not going to prove any of that. I tried to run it by my doctor, and it was just like, she didn't know anything about that. So, you know, I have to self-regulate, self-heal all the time, with or without people's help. And that's life. That's good advice for life in general, all the time, concerning anything. Always be willing to read the self-help book, Google, do a little research, try to get an idea of the consistency of the problem. What is the real problem here? She was diabetic, high, low blood sugar since she was younger. She had that. My aunt said she was like that since she was a kid, so she was always like that, even as younger. She had a mentality of a Marine, which is a soldier, which is somebody that's designed to be tough. She had a hard worker mentality, but she also was narcissistic. So she tortured me to feel better about herself and think she did a great job. Like Bob would go out there, he'd lose money in the business, go in the back with the techs, and basically torture us by giving us the spot inspection. And then he would go back to his office and he had a big smile on his face, because in his sad, sick little mind, that was a good thing for him, and that made him feel better. So he lost money over here and went and tortured the fuck out of us over there. And then he walked to his office again with a big smile on his face. I saw him. So the way people are is just that way. They have various kinds of mental illness, and once you realize she was mentally ill, she was physically ill. I'm mentally and physically ill, but I admit it. I deal with it. I face it. She died without really understanding herself, which is sad. She never really wanted to understand herself. I wanted to know myself. My spiritual path talks about self-mastery. You have to know yourself very well to do self-mastery. You have to understand where you're coming from, and your thought process is about everything in life. You have to love every aspect of yourself. You have to love your love. You have to love your hate. You have to love your body. You have to love every thought in your head, everything. The future. You have to love your past, your whole path and walk, so that you can finally be a kind of royal unto yourself. But the thing is, she was never going to do that shit, man. This woman would sit there and watch TV all day. Once Joe was out of the house, whenever she had off time, it was the novelas, the soap operas. That's all she cared about, was the fucking soap operas. She called that girl Miss Piggy, the guiding light. But anyway, I don't remember what the name of the actor is, but that's my mom. She was crazy. Everybody knew it. That's why nobody showed up. Nobody liked her. But she wasn't a perfect person. But I don't believe she was a bad person. She was a victim of the psychological programming of narcissistic tendencies on the planet and the sugar imbalances. She was a victim of poverty. I mean, her dad and her family, they had I think it was 9 or 10 kids, and they never had any fucking money till everybody went off and joined the military or did something else. It was just sad, man. It was sad. And I look at my aunts and my uncles, and they have pictures on Facebook, and they look just like her. They all look like her. And that's family. Family's been useless. They were always useless. And it's sad. My life has been one big, sad, long story. But, like I said, I'm past all this shit. I'm just trying to answer a request from that gentleman, Mr. Hardy. Mr. Hankey. Mr. Hankey, 5851. At Mr. Hankey, 5851. So, the healing process is, like I said, time, distance, analysis, soul searching. You have to break down what the issue is. You break down the problem just logically as much as possible. You have to distance yourself emotionally, not just physically in some cases, because, it is an emotional attack. It's abusive. So that's what you do, and you give it time, and 10 years go by, 20 years go by. I'm 52 now. This is ancient history to me. It doesn't affect me anymore. I even talk to my mom sometimes, and I said, "That's the way it is, right, Mom?" And we just crack up, because in my mind, she understands now. She died. She's out of the body. She's dust over here. But if she is in the astral, she understands what she did wrong. She understands why it happened. She has all that knowledge now. So there is no need for self-mastery. Once you're over there, you should know everything about yourself. There shouldn't be any mysteries. So there we are. I hope that answers your question. I think this is going to be a long video. I'm not sure. I can't read the counter. But I hope that helps. And I hope that every situation is different. But I learned the hard way to go ahead and just go past. And this Marine that struggled, lived in the street with her family, her whole fucking family. Nobody liked her. Nobody wanted her. She was rejected, pretty much. She had a few friends here and there, but they didn't show up to the fucking wake. You know, they didn't show up to the fucking wake. I couldn't do anything much because she bailed me out. She died a week later. And after she died, I was going to go try to get some of her personal effects, like her Marine uniform and pictures, old pictures and stuff that I know she had. And my sister never gave me that stuff. I'm still pissed at her for not bringing it over. She's always such a liar. But anyway, I hope you understand that I don't hate my mom. I just didn't understand what was happening when I was that young. And that's why it hurt so much, because it's something unknown hurting you and you don't have words for it. Once you have those words and you have the logic and reasoning, you read that little bit of psychology, you start to understand why she did it. But she chose this personality. She chose to be that way. We all do. I chose to be this way. She chose to be that way. You know, it's a choice. You can get past it. You still have your scars, but my scars don't stop me from living life. I just move on. It's just a reminder of pain and suffering. It doesn't continue after all this. Yeah. So anyway, have a good one. Thanks for watching. I'm going to make sure everything turned out okay on the video. All right. Bye-bye, guys.